Well, welcome everybody to week 7 of Terrible Tendies Fantasy Football Recaps. I just swung down to Taco Apocalypse, picking up some lunch from a special lady friend. Going to deliver that to her. But I got to start off with one little rant here that I pull in, I back in to Taco Apocalypse because, that's all the fuck you can do. And I go to get some fucking change for the damn machine, and I'm like, all right, I just need a little piece of silver. And what do I have? I have a whole bunch of shit in here, all fucking pennies. And guess what the goddamn machine doesn't take? Not only that, it doesn't take nickels. It doesn't take dimes. All it fucking takes is quarters, dollar coins. Who the fuck carries a fucking Sacagawea? And why the fuck is this road fucking blocked? Now I gotta do it. Sorry, I'm pissed. So then I got to fucking get my credit card out, put that shit in there, and instead of just, like the 5 minutes I fucking pre-ordered my goddamn meal, I had to walk in there and pick it up. I have to give a whole fucking, I don't even know how much it charged me. Didn't even tell me. I won't know until I fucking check my bank statement. What the fuck is that? To put an hour and like 40 minutes. That's the smallest increment I could goddamn do. Fuck me. All right, well, on to the goddamn recaps. We're going to take a look at fucking big old TDs and 12 fucking monkeys. Fuck. All right. Sorry. Not going to let this affect the recaps. Apologize. Good for you, big old TDs. You got a good win. Let's start with 12 monkeys. All right. So 12 monkeys, they had 4 starters combined for just 10.5 points. And you know what that means? That means
you're going to have a bad time.
On the good side, Travis Kelce was one of those dudes. He had his 3rd touchdown of the season. He had 4 catches, 33 yards, and that touchdown for 11.3 points. So way to go, Travis Kelce. Matt Ryan and the Falcons, they just could not get anything fucking moving. And this week it definitely shows in all of their stats. Just 233 yards, 1 touchdown. Now, he did have 37 yards on the ground, which is kind of crazy for Matt Ryan, but he finished with just 15.7 points. But the best performance of the week for 12 monkeys, that performance goes to, you guessed it, the Bears offense. Look at that. No, seriously, aside from the 4 sacks, the Panthers defense and special teams couldn't do shit. And somehow they still earned 21 points. So I guess they did one thing. They blocked a field goal. Whoop-de-freaking-do. But the Bears just couldn't do shit to get out. I mean, they had less than 200 yards of offense. Like, what the fuck are you doing, Bears? Just handing it over to them. But way to go, for the Panthers D in getting an easy week this week. On to the winning side, big old TDs. Now, entering the week, Kareem Hunt was the only player in the Super Bowl era to start a season, and I believe start a career, with 6 straight games of 100 all-purpose yards or more. Only player to do it. He is now the only player since the Super Bowl era to start 7 games with 100-plus all-purpose yard performances. Absolutely amazing. He finished with 117 yards with 4 receptions, 13.7 points. But the one thing to note about Kareem Hunt here is that he has no touchdowns since week 3. First 3 weeks, he had a ton of touchdowns. Since then, he doesn't have one, so we'll see what happens there. Now, for the 2nd straight week, rookie tight end Evan Ingram has led the Giants in receptions and in yards, and he also has now 2 touchdowns in just as many weeks. He finished this week 6 receptions for 60 yards, a touchdown for 15 points. So way to go, Evan Ingram there. But good old lucky number 7, Josh McCown is currently on his 7th team. So this finally seems to be paying off. He's now thrown 2 touchdowns in each of the past 2 weeks. And this week, he scored 4 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns through the air, 209 yards. He had this one yard touchdown run, which you've been watching while I fumble over my words. 21.1 points for Josh McCown. Haven't seen performances out of him like that for a while. But, lucky number 7. It's his 7th team since he's been in the league since 2002. So way to go. And way to go, big old TD's getting the win. 82.1 points over 12 monkeys, 68.9. All right, I'm going to go deliver this food here, and then we'll see y'all in a little bit.
Is there anything you want? Is there anything you need? McFeely's delivery brings it to you here with speed. Yes, our speedy delivery is a speedy delivery. Speedy delivery to you.
Well, fuck me sideways. I just dropped off some food. I started recording. I whipped a shitty. Y'all missed it as I was doing my next recap, and I just realized the battery was on. So, round 2, here we go. My matchup, Nuck Nuck Moose K versus T.I. Bionic Man. I got the win, 115 points to T.I. Bionic Man's 88 points, and that's the side of the ball that we're going to start on now. Right now, I'm just driving down for lunch. I'm going to meet up with Poppin down at the High Life Lounge, have some beers, and have some good food. So let's go ahead and hit it off. So the hits I got, speaking of hits, they just keep coming for T.I. Bionic Man. Carson Palmer left early in the second quarter. Come to find out, he broke his non-throwing arm, his left arm. He's going to be out now for, I think, 4 to 6 weeks. Sounds like he may be able to return. It is not his throwing arm, but only time will tell there. So that's going to be another missing link for T.I. However, he does have a good change of pace back, starting to develop some chemistry with the Saints. Alvin Kamara has had a decent couple of weeks here now. He had 5 catches out of the backfield, 107 all-purpose yards for 13.2 points. So it'll be real interesting. Got to keep an eye on him, see how he does. Antonio Brown found pay dirt for the second time in as many weeks. Had a decent game, 4 receptions, 65 yards, a little light on the receptions, but he did end with 14.5 points. So not a bad showing there. But the top scorer for T.I. Bionic Man, those honors go to the kicker this week, Greg Zuerlein of the LA Rams. 3 field goals under 40 yards, 3 extra points, and this 50-plus yarder, really great game. He finished with 17 points. There's been a lot of kickers doing pretty well this season. It's kind of been an interesting thing to see. We've had a number of them. A couple of them even hit 20 points in early goings in this season. But on to my side of the ball, I definitely started off the week with a bang in a couple of big ways. First, Tyreek Hill just keeps adding to his big playbook, his highlight reel, if you will, as he capped off the Chiefs' first 99-yard drive in over a decade. He had this 64-yard touchdown pass and catch from Alex Smith to Tyreek Hill. Absolutely monster game, 6 receptions, 125 yards. That touchdown for 24.2 points, so real good there. Now, the other side that the Chiefs were playing on Thursday was division rival Oakland Raiders, and I've known that Derek Carr has just not been playing up to standard. He can't keep the Raiders down all season, and he broke out in a huge way. Now, let's set the stage here. The Raiders and Derek Carr, he had lost his last 5 games against the Chiefs. Never gotten a win against them until Thursday night. He had his career second time in his career he's thrown for over 400 yards. He finished with 417 yards, 3 touchdowns for, I want to say, 33.5 points. The end of that game was crazy. There were all sorts of no time run plays. There's like 3 of them at the end, all sorts of penalties, but it was an amazing game. But the big score that I have to also shout out, my third highlight person, Brandon Cooks, closed out the week for me as he pulled in his first touchdown since week 3. He has actually been third most targeted player for the Patriots here in the last few weeks. I think he's finally developing some chemistry, which is good. Finished with 4 receptions, 65 yards, 14.5 points. So I'm going to pull up here to the High Life Lounge and have some good grub with and stuff. So we'll talk to you later. We'll do another recap.
All the greatest moments of my life I spent right here in this booth. Maggie's first word, Bart jumping that canyon, Mr. Plow, all the greatest moments of my life.
Why is label guy trying to punch me? Punch you first, label guy.
I gotta go pee. I don't want to get up. Joe, where's that thing? Where's the thing? Where's the catheter thing?
No, it's private.
Hey, what happens if I blow in this end?
Don't, I'll explode.
I'm gonna.
You do it better than Bonnie.
It takes a man to know what a man likes.
Welcome back, you sons of bitches. Here, let me fix this. There we go. Now you can have your fucking pop-up view mirror. Alright. Well, just leaving the high life. Nothing like spending a good 3 hours there, 2 hours. I don't know however long it's been. Oh shit, it's really bright out. Let's get some spectacles put on here, shall we? Oh. That is definitely better. So, we are going to talk today, if I can turn, about ambitious but rubbish and Vagenda O-Manicide, as it has been changed recently. Ambitious but rubbish losing this week, 72.5 points to 91.2 points. So we're going to start on ambitious but rubbish's side of the ball. In what could be a preview of the Chauncey Bowl, ambitious but rubbish did not do very well. So he is now the lone man sitting at 1-6, whereas Vagenda O-Manicide is sitting at 2-5. Ambitious but rubbish. Duke Johnson Jr. had a career high in rushing attempts this week with seven rushing attempts is his season high. He had 26 yards rushing, ended the day 6 receptions, 71 all-purpose yards, 10.1 points. But let's talk about one of the better people on ambitious but rubbish. So since being signed off of the Panthers practice squad in week 4, Harrison Butker, Butker.
Correct!
Harrison Butker has been one of the best kickers in the NFL, and this is why we know. He has averaged 13.5 points in his last 4 starts. 13 points from a kicker. It's crazy. He had 2 kicks that were less than 40 yards, 3 extra points, and he added 1 more that was over 50. He ended the day with 14 points. So, really good day from Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Big Ben Roethlisberger had his first turnover-free game. Get this. He had not had a turnover. He has had a turnover every week since week 2. This was his first turnover-free game without an interception or a fumble since week dose. Holy shit, that's horrible. He had 7 interceptions alone in the last 3 weeks. The fuck are we talking about when we say Big Ben's a good quarterback? But guess what? He is. 224 yards, 2 touchdowns. He finished the day as the highlight for Butt Rubbish at 15.7 points. So, good on you, Big Ben Roethlisberger. Now, on to the winning side of the ball, Vagenda O-Manicide. Only 2 players scored in double digits for Vagenda O-Manicide. However, those 2 players combined for 55 points. Not a bad thing. But let's take a look at one of those players that was not in the starting lineup. Tyrod Taylor had the best game of his season this week on the bench. 268 yards and a passing touchdown. He also added 53 yards rushing for 18.3 points in total. Really good yard. Now, on to the starting side, we're going to talk about Vagenda O-Manicide's 2 starting quarterbacks. First off, Russell Wilson had a rough first half. Every half this season, the first half of this season, for all of his games have been kind of rough. But he, again, keeps pulling it together, figures out a way to make it all happen. He finished 334 yards, 3 total touchdowns. Amazing work there to finish with 26 points. So way to go out of Russell. Russell Russell Westbrook? No, Russell Wilson. There we go. Russell Westbrook. Wow, totally different player. Anywho, different sport. The other player that did awesome, of course, started on Thursday night. We've talked a lot about all the Thursday night players. Here's yet another one. Alex Smith continued to have his best season of the year by far. So Alex Smith, he had his third 300-yard passing game this season, and his fifth multi-touchdown game this season. Some stats would say he had 4, his fifth one if you include his rushing touchdown. He's had 5 multi-touchdown games this season. He finished today 342 yards, 3 touchdowns for 29 points. Absolute monster game, Alex Smith. Even though they lost, that was a hell of a game, again, as we've talked about before on Thursday night. So there you go, ambitious but rubbish. Vagenda Omanaside, way to go. Second win of the season, 91.2 points. Will there be a recap in the Chauncey Bowl? Only time will tell. We'll have to see. All right, well, welcome back here for another recap. I am headed out now to Costco, JCPenney, Target. Got to do some grocery shopping, returns, exchanges, all sorts of different things. So as we're doing that, per the usual, let's go ahead and do another recap here. So we're going to be looking at No Punt Intended versus Jim Kelly's Little Nippers. No Punt Intended getting the win with a huge 150.6 points, while Jim Kelly's Little Nippers putting up a very, very respectable 136.6 points. So we'll start on Jim Kelly's side of the ball there. This game looked over heading late into Monday Night Football. Even though in Monday Night Football you had 2 quarterbacks left to play for Jim Kelly, No Punt had a huge lead running out of there. So let's go ahead and start there, even though the 2 quarterbacks left to play. We're going to start. The first one was Kirk Cousins. He definitely helped make it interesting. So both Cousins and Carson Wentz, who we'll talk about in a little bit, had 2 strong games. The problem was that every time Kirk Cousins seemed to throw a touchdown, he threw it to Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed was one of the tight ends that we'll talk about with no punt. So every time he scored, Jordan Reed scored, and it didn't do so good. But Kirk Cousins had a great day. 303 yards, 3 total touchdowns for 20.8 points. So really good there for Jordan Reed. Le'Veon Bell, got to talk about him, of course, if we're talking about the little nip-naps. Le'Veon Bell has now topped 180 yards, all-purpose yards, that is, for the 3rd time in 4 weeks. He finished the game with 192 all-purpose yards on 3 receptions, 21.7 points for him. So really good week there again for Le'Veon Bell. But of course, we talked about at the beginning, Carson Wentz had a monster game. He has now thrown 11 touchdowns in just 3 weeks. Absolutely crazy. This week he even included the 64-yard bomb that you're watching right now. He finished with 268 yards, 4 total touchdowns, and he also had 8 rushing attempts for, 63 yards. So he finished the day with 29.3 points. Do want to give a quick honorable mention shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had 10 sacks this week, which was awesome. Finished with 28 points out of the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, man. They have just been killing teams the last 3 weeks. They had a bye week, I believe, last week, but they have just been doing awesome against teams defensively. So way to go. On to the winning side of the ball, no punt intended. He gets the top scorer of the week honor this week. Huge 150.6 points. Now, let's talk about Jordan Howard. We started. Now, he had a horrible first half of the game. He dropped tons of passes. Pass after pass after pass, he kept dropping. But in the second half, he finally scored his first 2 touchdowns of the season, all in one half. 8 total receptions for 64 yards. Those 2 touchdowns put him at 22.4 points. So way to go, Jordan Reed. Another player to find pay dirt for the first time this season was LaShawn McCoy. He had another huge game, and he also found pay dirt twice this week. 91 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing. He added 5 receptions, 31 yards receiving for 24.7 points. So again, another monster game, or a first monster game, I should say, for LaShawn McCoy. Somebody who's had a ton of monster games this week. Let's talk about a little Ezekiel Elliott. Now, when Ezekiel Elliott catches a ball, he likes to do stuff with it. Doesn't do it often. He had one catch this week, but it was a 72, this one right here you're watching, a 72-yard catch and run for a touchdown. Absolutely awesome week for Ezekiel Elliott there, getting the start with that. He ended the day 142 yards on the ground with another 2 touchdowns. He finished at 42.4 points. He had a career high in all-purpose yards, 219 yards. So, way to go, Ezekiel Elliott. I just pulled into JCPenney, as you can tell, and we're going to go run in, do some exchanges, do some price matching, see what they'll do for us. See you in a little bit. All right, well, just got back from JCPenney. Now we're going to head on over to Target and get that stuff dropped off there.
Is there anything you want? Is there anything you need? McFeely's delivery brings it to you here with speed. Yes, our speedy delivery is a speedy delivery. Speedy delivery to you.
All right, so we just dropped some stuff off at Target. Now we're going to head on out to the Costco, do some bulk shopping. And while we're on there, I think we may be able to get just about all the rest of our recaps done here. So let's go ahead and get on to our next matchup here. We're going to be looking at Buyer's Remorse and Jesus Teets MD. Buyer's Remorse getting the win narrowly, 79.9 points to 77.6 points. Now, originally, this game did not look as close as we thought it was going to be. I thought Buyer's Remorse was going to get a pretty easy win, but it came down clear till late, and I mean fourth quarter late on Monday Night Football. We'll get more of that in a second. But for Jesus Teets MD, early on, you knew it was going to be a rough week for them. And the way we knew that was because Cam Newton, the Bengals defense and special teams, and Jordy Nelson, they all combined for an entire 1.8 points. Cam Newton 2, Bengals -2, and Jordy Nelson with that 1.8 points. That's always going to spell disaster when your big three like that come up short. But still, again, this game was up for grabs late into Monday night, largely because of LeGarrette Blount. We're going to talk about him when we flip over to the other side of the ball. So let's go ahead and start with Jesus Teets' high points. We're going to talk first about Mark Ingram, who has absolutely exploded since all-day AP left for a drier climate over there in Arizona. Mark Ingram had his second straight 100-plus yard rushing game. He finished the day with 105 yards on the ground, a touchdown for 20 points. Just exploding there with the Saints, which is awesome to see. Now, we already saw the 72-yard pass and catch from Dak Prescott to Ezekiel Elliott, but we got to talk about Dak Prescott's rest of his game. He now has 3 touchdown passes in 3 straight games, and he's rushed for a touchdown in the last 2 games. Dak Prescott has just been wowing and being just awesome to see him. No sophomore slump for him. He finished with 234 passing yards, 3 total passing touchdowns, and then he had 26 yards on the ground with a rushing touchdown for 31.6 points. So a huge game again out of Dak Prescott as he continues to perform week in and week out. But on to the winning side of the ball with Buyer's Remorse. The winner, this week's game was probably the closest game that we've had in a while. Only 2 points separated it. Blake Bortles did show, though, this week for Buyer's Remorse that he could chuck the ball down the field. Blake Bortles connected on 3 passes. Jesus Christ. Nobody gonna let me get the fuck over. Oh, he waved at one point. Yep, there we go. Thank you, Lexus. Sorry, back to Blake Bortles there. He had 3 passes of 45 or more yards on the field. Hopefully we've been watching that through all of this. He finished the day 330 yards, a touchdown for 16.1 points. Now, Doug Baldwin had his best game since his week 3 injury. Clearly, that bye week kind of helped him heal up. He finished with 9 receptions, 92 yards, his second TD of the season, for 19.7 points. So really good game there for Doug Baldwin. But the big performer for buyer's remorse had to have been the Rams defense and special teams. They shut out the Cardinals. Now, granted, we all know Carson Palmer went out early. We talked about it earlier with his broken arm. So that backup quarterback that was in there threw 2 picks. And he did get sacked 3 times. There were 3 sacks on the quarterback. But they shut out Adrian Peterson, and the Arizona Cardinals scored 22 points in the Rams defense special team. So that's a look at that one. Once we get off the interstate up here in a little bit, then we will talk through the next recap and final one of the week. All right, so we just pulled up to a red light here getting off the interstate. Let's go ahead and look at our final recap of the week here. We're going to talk about Lock, Stock, and Dock versus Chicago Guns. Lock, Stock, and Dock losing this week, 96.7 points to Chicago Guns' huge 140.4 point performance. Let's go ahead and start on LSD's side of the ball. Now, a week after Adrian Peterson's 26-point breakout week, in his first week with the Arizona Cardinals, he went into his second week. And again, we talk a lot, and it's crazy how much one player can affect the outcome of so many fantasy roles. But not only was Carson Palmer's broken arm a factor, but also then that led to the Rams just outscoring the Cardinals. They could not get anything going, including Adrian Peterson. He only had 11 carries for 21 yards, finished today with a weak 3.8 points. But I got to say, it will be interesting. They go into bye week next week, and you got to think that Adrian Peterson is going to get a lot more reps and a lot more just practice going through the playbook and seeing how everything works in that system. Hopefully when they come back here in week 9, they're going to be fresh and ready to rock and roll. But on to some highlights. Dez Bryant hasn't had the greatest number of receptions this season. He hasn't really totaled that many yards. He had 63 this week. That was only his second highest performance in yards through the season. However, he has become Dak Prescott's one of his most trusted end zone targets. He now has 4 touchdowns in 6 games this season. He had 7 receptions, 63 yards, a touchdown again this week for 15.8 points. So a decent performance there out of Dez Bryant. But Todd Gurley has topped 100 yards rushing for the 4th time in 5 games this season. He had 106 yards on the ground with a touchdown, 4 receptions for 48 yards, finished with 24.4 points. Gurley now has 8 touchdowns this season. I want to keep that in mind. Gurley has 8 touchdowns. The rest of the team, the rest of the LA Rams, have 9 touchdowns. So he scored basically half of their touchdowns, and it'll be interesting to actually see if he can get more than the rest of the team by the end of the season, see how that goes. But on to the winning side of the ball, Chicago Guns. Again, Zach Ertz now, we got to start there. Zach Ertz has quietly amassed a 10-point lead over the second place tight end in the Terrible Tandy Fantasy Football League. The second place player is Gronk, and Zach Ertz has 10 points more than him. He now has 4 touchdowns in 3 weeks and has topped 80 yards 4 times this season. Zach Ertz has just blown up fantasies this week, which is great this season. Carson Wentz has been helping him out, obviously, throwing the ball to him really well. 5 receptions this week, 89 yards, and a touchdown. He finished with 17.4 points. I want to say he's averaging almost 14 points a week as a tight end. Again, those are Gronk and Travis Kelce-like numbers, and Zach Ertz is coming out of nowhere. But he finally did it. Julio Jones finally scored a touchdown. The Falcons had been held without a touchdown for 5 straight quarters, and finally Julio Jones broke through. He had 9 receptions for 99 yards this past week and a touchdown. He set his season high in points with 20.4 points. So way to go there, Julio Jones. But we talked about at the beginning how one play or one game can affect several fantasy outcomes. We talked earlier how the Chiefs and the Raiders game has just a ton of huge plays. Here's the last player of our Week 7 recap, and we're going to talk about that game again. And we're talking this time about the biggest winner out of all of them, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper has finally decided to show up. He was the least likely person to do anything this week. Everybody's been counting on him all season. He finally had the monster game that we have been waiting for. Entering this week, Derek Carr and Amari Cooper were 1 for 10 on passes of 10 or more yards down the field. So they'd only caught one. In this game alone, he was 4 for 8. 4 for 8 on passes that went more than 10 yards down the field. Absolutely huge. He set a career high in yards this week. He had 11 receptions, 210 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You've probably been seeing all of the replays happen through here while I've been talking. But 210 yards, setting that new career high. He finished the day with over 40 points. God damn, I fucking hate this turn into Lowe's and Costco. You get in the right lane because there's 2 fucking lanes, and as soon as you turn, it's another right turn only into the goddamn Lowe's parking lot. No, I don't want to fucking go to Lowe's. I'm trying to get to Costco. God fucking damn it. Now I gotta whip a shitty, pull back up here. Sorry. Amari Cooper, you are awesome. 41.5 points. I hate your fucking guts because you made the Chiefs lose, but goddamn, what a performance for you. So that's the end of the recaps. I think I might have one last special message for you all here after Costco. So we'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, we'll see you later. All right, so just got done at the old Costco, and now I'm gonna head on home. But I wanted to leave you guys with one final note. I am on vacation the last part of this week. That's why I'm filming these videos now in the middle of the day. And I'll be on vacation through Wednesday of next week. So if you want to be a part of these recaps, just shoot me a text this weekend, and we'll see if we can find a time to make it happen. You don't have to do your own matchup if you don't want, or you can if you want to. It's all up to you guys. So just hit me up if you guys want to do any of that. But with that, I'm gonna let Snoop Dogg take us out.